The wrench slipped from my grip and clattered against the concrete floor of my garage, echoing like a gunshot in the silence. I was elbow-deep in the engine bay of a 1967 Mustang Fastback, trying to coax life back into its carburetor, when I heard Elara's voice drifting through the thin walls, separating my sanctuary from our house. "Oh my gosh, you guys, you won't believe what Drake did today," she was saying, her voice pitched high with that fake enthusiasm she reserved for her TikTok audience. "He actually made me a spreadsheet for our grocery budget. A spreadsheet with color coding." I straightened up, wiping grease from my hands with a rag that had seen better decades. Through the window, I could see her in our kitchen, phone propped up on the counter, ring light blazing like a miniature sun. Her blonde hair was perfectly curled, makeup flawless despite it being 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. "I mean, who does that?" she continued, laughing that tinkling laugh she'd perfected for social media. "He's got categories for everything: organic vegetables, name-brand cereal, even a separate line item for my protein powder. It's like living with an accountant who forgot he's not at work." The comments were already rolling in. I couldn't see them from here, but I knew the routine. Her followers would be eating it up, making jokes about controlling husbands and red flags. What they didn't know, what Elara conveniently forgot to mention, was that our joint checking account was currently sitting at negative $47, and her protein powder habit was costing us $200 a month. "My name is Drake Torin, I'm 35 years old, and I restore classic cars for a living. It's honest work that pays decent money, especially when you're good at it, which I am. I've been married to Elara for 3 years, and for the first 2 of those years, I thought I'd won the lottery. She was beautiful, funny, and had this way of making even mundane conversations feel electric. Then she discovered TikTok. It started innocently enough. A few videos of our weekend adventures, some cooking content, the occasional couples challenge. But somewhere along the way, it became her obsession. She quit her job as a dental hygienist to focus on building her brand, which apparently required a constant stream of new outfits, trendy restaurants, and expensive skincare products. "And get this," Elara was saying to her phone, leaning in conspiratorially. "He wants me to meal prep on Sundays. Can you imagine? Me, spending my entire Sunday chopping vegetables and portioning out sad little containers of chicken and rice." I grabbed my phone and opened her live stream. 43 people watching, hearts floating up the screen like digital confetti. In the comments, user SkinnyLegend22 had typed, "Girl, run, that's financial abuse." Financial abuse. Right. I looked around my garage, taking inventory. The Mustang belonged to Mrs. Henderson from down the street. She was paying me $3,000 to get it running for her late husband's memorial car show. In the corner sat my own project, a 1969 Camaro SS that I'd been working on for 2 years, buying parts whenever we had extra money, which, these days, was never. "Oh, and here's the best part," Elara continued, her voice rising with theatrical outrage. "He wants me to use coupons. Actual paper coupons that you cut out of the newspaper like some kind of Depression-era housewife." The comments were getting nastier. Someone had typed, "Leave him sis," followed by a string of crying, laughing emojis. Another viewer suggested she start a GoFundMe for escape money. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I set down my tools and walked toward the house, still in my grease-stained coveralls. The back door opened directly into the kitchen, where Elara was holding court with her digital audience. She looked up when I entered, her eyes widening slightly. For just a moment, her perfect influencer mask slipped, and I saw something that might have been guilt. "Oh, hey, babe," she said, her voice artificially bright. "I was just telling everyone about your cute little budget system." "Cute," I repeated, moving to the sink to wash my hands. In the phone's front-facing camera, I could see myself, tall, lean, with dark hair that needed cutting and stubble that needed shaving. I looked tired. I felt tired. Yeah, it's just so thorough, she said, laughing again. Drake's really into details. I dried my hands on the dish towel and turned to face her phone directly. The viewer count had jumped to 68. Nothing like a little marital drama to boost engagement. Hey everyone, I said, my voice calm and even. Since Elara's sharing our personal business, I thought I might add some context. Her smile faltered. Drake, the budget she's talking about? It exists because we're currently overdrawn by $47. That protein powder she mentioned costs $200 a month. Her content creation expenses last month totaled $836. The comments section exploded. I could see the little hearts and fire emojis multiplying as viewers shared the stream with their friends. And those coupons? I continued, my voice never rising above conversational level. They could save us about $60 a week on groceries, which might not sound like much, but when your wife hasn't contributed to the household income in 8 months, $60 is the difference between keeping the lights on and sitting in the dark. Elara's face had gone pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. Drake, stop. You're embarrassing me. Am I? I pulled out my phone and opened our banking app. Should I show them our account balance, or maybe the credit card statements? You wouldn't dare. I looked directly into her phone camera. The viewer count was approaching 200 now. The thing about budgets, I said, is they're based on reality, and reality is that we're broke. Not struggling artist broke or saving for a house broke. Actually, legitimately, about to lose our car broke. Elara lunged for her phone, but I was faster. I plucked it from the counter and held it out of her reach. But here's the really fun part, I continued, addressing her audience directly. Want to know how much money Elara's TikTok career has made in the past 8 months? Go ahead, guess. The comments were a blur of numbers and shocked face emojis. $47.32. Total. Gross. Not net. That's about $6 a month, which means her protein powder habit costs 33 times more than her social media income. Give me my phone! Elara shrieked, jumping for it like a cat after a laser pointer. I handed it back to her, but the damage was done. The viewer count was over 300 now, and the comments were brutal. Her carefully cultivated image of the fun, carefree influencer had cracked wide open, revealing the financial chaos underneath. She ended the stream abruptly, her face flushed with humiliation and rage. How could you do that to me? She demanded. Do you have any idea how hard I've worked to build my following? About as hard as you've worked to pay our bills? She threw her phone at me. I ducked, and it clattered against the refrigerator, the screen spiderwebbing on impact. You just ruined everything, she said, her voice shaking. My followers, my brand, my credibility, everything. I looked at her broken phone, then back at her. Your credibility was already shot, Elara. I just made it public. She stormed out of the kitchen, her heels clicking angrily against the hardwood floor. A moment later, I heard our bedroom door slam with enough force to rattle the windows. I stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the detritus of her content creation. Ring lights, phone stands, and a half-eaten avocado toast that had been artfully arranged for a photo she'd probably never posted. On the counter, her broken phone buzzed with notifications. Apparently, the clip was already being shared across other platforms. My own phone rang. The caller ID showed my younger brother Ben's name. Dude, he said without preamble. Please tell me you just saw what I think I saw. Depends. What do you think you saw? You absolutely destroying Elara's entire internet persona in under 5 minutes. It's already on Twitter. Someone screen recorded the whole thing. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. Great. Are you kidding? This is amazing. She's been treating you like garbage for months, and you finally stood up for yourself. I'm proud of you, man. Ben was 22, fresh out of college, and currently crashing in our guest room after his own relationship had imploded. He'd been watching Elara's transformation from sweet girlfriend to entitled influencer with the same horrified fascination you'd reserve for a car accident. "I should probably go apologize," I said, though the words felt like ash in my mouth. "For what? Telling the truth?" Before I could answer, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Elara appeared in the doorway, having changed into her serious conversation outfit. Designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that cost more than most people's car payments. "We need to talk," she said. I hung up on Ben and turned to face my wife. Her makeup was perfect again, every trace of her earlier breakdown erased. It was like watching a magician perform a trick in reverse. "I'm listening." She took a deep breath, the kind of calculated pause she used in her more dramatic TikToks. "I think we should separate." The words hung in the air between us like smoke. I felt something shift inside my chest, a loosening of tension I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. "Okay," I said. She blinked, clearly expecting a different reaction. "Okay?" "Yeah, okay, you want to separate? We'll separate." Just like that? I looked around the kitchen, taking in the ring lights and phone stands, the expensive skincare products lined up like soldiers on the counter, the credit card statements I'd been hiding from her for weeks. Just like that. Her composure cracked slightly. "You're not going to fight for us?" "Fight for what, exactly? Your right to spend money we don't have? Your right to humiliate me online for content? Your right to treat our marriage like a prop in your videos?" You did. Every day for the past 8 months, you've been turning our life into content. Our arguments, our finances, our private moments. Everything is fair game as long as it gets views. She straightened her shoulders, regaining her composure. "Fine, but I'm not leaving. This is my house, too." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone again, "it's not." I showed her the screen, which displayed our mortgage information. "The house is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. You're not on any of the paperwork." Her face went white. "That's not possible." "Check your credit report lately? You couldn't qualify for a library card, let alone a mortgage. Your credit score is somewhere between catastrophic and fictional character." She stared at the phone screen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "So here's what's going to happen," I continued, my voice remaining calm and reasonable. "You're going to pack your things and leave. Tonight. You can stay with one of your influencer friends or your sister or whoever. But you're not staying here." "You can't just kick me out." "Watch me." I walked to the key hook by the back door and removed her house key, then handed it to her. "Your car payment is due in 3 days. Your credit cards are maxed out. Your phone is broken. And as of about 10 minutes ago, your reputation is in ruins. I'd say you have bigger problems than finding somewhere to sleep tonight." She took the key with shaking hands, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her like a house of cards in a hurricane. "This isn't over," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her for a long moment, this woman I'd once thought I'd spend my life with, and felt nothing but exhaustion. "Yeah," I said. "It is." The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and a notification that I'd been tagged in over 200 social media posts. Elara's livestream meltdown had gone viral overnight, spawning memes, reaction videos, and a hashtag that was trending in 3 different states. I made coffee and scrolled through the chaos while sitting at my kitchen table. Someone had edited our argument into a TikTok with dramatic music and slow-motion effects. Another user had created a Budget King compilation video featuring clips of me calmly destroying Elara's financial fantasies set to classical music. The comments ranged from supportive to savage, with most people taking my side. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Seren Dreven, my co-worker, and the closest thing I had to a best friend. "Drake Torrin," she said without preamble. "You magnificent, petty genius." Seren was 31, whip-smart, and had been working at Henderson's Auto Restoration for 6 years. She was also the only person I knew who could diagnose a transmission problem by sound alone and quote Sun Tzu in the same conversation. "Morning to you too," I said. "Have you seen the internet today? You're famous. There are already parody accounts. Someone made a Drake Torrin budget calculator. You've become a meme, and it's beautiful." I rubbed my eyes. "Elara left last night." "Good. She was toxic waste in designer clothing." Serene's voice softened slightly. "You okay?" "I think so. Honestly, I feel more relieved than anything else." "That's healthy. Listen, I'm calling because you need to know something. Elara came by the shop this morning." I sat up straighter. "What?" "She was asking questions about you. Your schedule, your clients, your income. She seemed particularly interested in whether you had any side jobs or cash payments that might not be reported." A chill ran down my spine. "She's looking for ammunition." "That's what I figured. I didn't tell her anything, obviously, but she seemed pretty determined. She also mentioned something about getting what she deserves from the divorce. We're not even divorced yet. We've been separated for less than 12 hours. Try telling her that. She's already talking to a lawyer." I thanked Serene and hung up, my mind racing. Elara was planning something, and knowing her, it would be designed for maximum drama and social media impact. Ben wandered into the kitchen wearing yesterday's clothes and sporting bedhead that defied physics. "Morning, internet celebrity," he said, grabbing a mug from the cabinet. "How's it feel to be the hero of every married man in America?" "Complicated," I said. "Elara's already talking to lawyers." "Of course she is. What's her angle?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a notification. Elara had posted a new TikTok. The thumbnail showed her with red-rimmed eyes and smudged makeup, looking like she'd been crying for hours. "I never thought I'd have to make this video," she began, her voice shaking with what appeared to be genuine emotion. "But after what happened yesterday, I feel like I owe you all an explanation." Ben leaned over my shoulder to watch. "Oh, this is going to be good." "My husband humiliated me in front of hundreds of people," Elara continued. "He violated my privacy, shared our personal financial information without my consent, and then kicked me out of my own home. I'm currently staying with a friend because I have nowhere else to go." The comments were already pouring in, a mix of support and skepticism. Someone had typed, "We saw the receipts, girl," followed by several eye-roll emojis. "I know some of you think I deserved this," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "And maybe I wasn't perfect. Maybe I spent too much money sometimes. Or maybe I shared too much of our private life online. But that doesn't give him the right to financially abuse me or make me homeless." "Homeless," Ben snorted. "She's staying with Bree, who lives in a 3-bedroom condo in Uptown." The video continued for another 2 minutes, with Elara painting herself as the victim of a controlling, emotionally abusive husband. She was good at it, I had to admit. The tears looked real, the emotion felt genuine, and she hit all the right buzzwords to generate sympathy. "I'm going to take some time to heal and figure out my next steps," she concluded. "Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. Your messages mean everything to me." The video already had over 1,000 views and climbing. The comments were more mixed than her previous content, with plenty of people calling out her selective editing of the truth, but she was gaining sympathy from viewers who hadn't seen the original live stream. My phone rang again. This time it was an unknown number. "Drake Torrin?" The voice was male, professional, with a slight Texas drawl. "This is attorney Michael Patterson from Patterson & Associates. I represent your wife, Elara Torrin. I'm calling to inform you that we'll be filing for divorce and seeking emergency spousal support." "Emergency spousal support for what?" "Mrs. Torrin is currently without housing or financial resources due to your actions yesterday. We'll be asking the court to order temporary alimony and exclusive use of the marital residence until the divorce is finalized." I laughed, which seemed to catch him off guard. "Good luck with that. Mr. Torrin, I don't think you understand the seriousness of the situation." Your wife has documented evidence of financial abuse and emotional distress. And I have documented evidence of her spending us into bankruptcy while contributing nothing to the household income. I also have bank records, credit card statements, and a very public video of her admitting she hasn't worked in 8 months. There was a pause. We'll be in touch. He hung up, and I turned to Ben, who had been listening with barely contained glee. They're going for spousal support, I said. Based on what? Her TikTok career? Apparently. Ben grinned. This is going to be fun. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of phone calls, messages, and social media notifications. The story had been picked up by several gossip blogs and YouTube drama channels. Someone had created a Wikipedia page for Budget King Drake, which had already been edited 17 times. Around noon, I decided to go to the shop and lose myself in some actual work. The Mustang wasn't going to fix itself, and I needed the distraction. Henderson's Auto Restoration occupied a converted warehouse on the outskirts of Dallas, surrounded by other small businesses and industrial buildings. The smell of motor oil and metal polish hit me as soon as I walked through the door, immediately calming my nerves. Serene was bent over the engine bay of a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and her coveralls pristine, despite the fact that she'd probably been working for hours. "How's our internet celebrity holding up?" she asked without looking up. "Elara hired a lawyer. They're going for spousal support." "On what grounds?" "Financial abuse, apparently." Serene straightened up and turned to face me, her expression incredulous. "Financial abuse? She spent you into debt and never worked a day in 8 months. That's like claiming someone's abusing you by refusing to let you punch them in the face." "Her lawyer seems to think they have a case." "Her lawyer is fishing. They're hoping you'll panic and settle rather than fight it out in court." She wiped her hands on a rag and leaned against the car's fender. "What's your plan?" "Document everything. Bank records, credit card statements, screenshots of her social media posts about spending money. Build a timeline that shows exactly how we went from financially stable to broke." "Smart. What about the house?" "It's in my name only. She can't claim it in the divorce." Serene nodded approvingly. "You're thinking like a chess player instead of a victim. Good." I spent the afternoon working on the Mustang, letting the familiar rhythm of mechanical work clear my head. There was something therapeutic about diagnosing problems and fixing them with your hands. Unlike marriage, cars made sense. When something was broken, you could identify the problem, order the right parts, and repair it. When something was beyond saving, you knew it immediately. Around 4 o'clock, my phone buzzed with another notification. Elara had posted again, this time from what appeared to be a coffee shop. She was sitting across from 2 other women I recognized as her closest friends, Bree Corlin and Maddie Santos. "Coffee date with my girls," the caption read, "grateful for friends who support you through the hard times." The video showed the 3 of them laughing and talking, looking like they were having the time of their lives. It was clearly staged to show that Elara was resilient and surrounded by love, a not-so-subtle response to the narrative that she was alone and helpless. But something in the background caught my attention. On the table behind them, partially visible in the frame, was a manila folder with what looked like legal documents sticking out of it. I screenshotted the image and zoomed in. The letterhead was visible, Patterson and Associates, and beneath that I could make out part of a heading that read Asset Discovery and Valuation. They weren't just going for spousal support, they were going after my business. I called Serene over and showed her the screenshot. She studied it for a moment, then whistled low. "They're doing a full asset investigation, looking for hidden money, unreported income, anything they can use to claim you're worth more than you're letting on. But I'm not hiding anything. The business barely breaks even most months." "Doesn't matter. They're fishing. Throw enough lines in the water, eventually you catch something." My phone rang. Ben's name appeared on the screen. "You need to get home," he said without preamble. "Now." "What's wrong?" Elara's here. She's got some guy with her and they're trying to get into the garage. I was already moving toward my truck. Did you call the police? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. But Drake, this guy looks like trouble. Big, muscular, probably thinks protein powder is a food group. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't let them in and don't engage with them. What if they don't leave? Then call the cops. She doesn't live here anymore and she has no right to be on the property. I drove home faster than I probably should have, my mind racing through possibilities. Who was the guy with her? A new boyfriend? Her lawyer? Some kind of muscle she'd hired to intimidate me? I got my answer as soon as I pulled into my driveway. Standing next to Elara's borrowed car was a man who looked like he'd been assembled from spare parts at a gym. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and wearing a tank top that displayed arms the size of tree trunks. His hair was styled in that deliberately messy way that took an hour to achieve, and he had the kind of tan that came from a bottle. Elara was standing next to him, pointing at my garage and talking animatedly. When she saw me pull up, her expression shifted from scheming to victimized in the space of a heartbeat. I parked and got out of my truck, keeping my movements slow and deliberate. The last thing I needed was for this to escalate into a physical confrontation. Elara, I said, nodding politely. What can I do for you? I came to get my things, she said, her voice pitched slightly higher than normal. Some of my equipment is in the garage. What equipment? My ring light, my phone stand, my backup camera. I need them for work. I almost laughed. Work? The muscle-bound guy stepped forward. She said she needs her stuff, man. Just let her get it and we'll be gone. And you are? Jace Morrison, he said, extending a hand that felt like shaking a baseball mitt. I'm Elara's friend. Friend, right. Nice to meet you, Jace. I'm Drake, Elara's soon-to-be ex-husband, and I'm afraid I can't let you into my garage. Why not? Elara demanded. Those are my things. Because you don't live here anymore, and I don't know this guy from Adam. For all I know, you're here to steal tools or damage property. Jace's friendly demeanor evaporated. Nobody's stealing anything, pal. She just wants her stuff. Then she can come back with a police escort and get it. But she's not going into my garage with some random guy I've never met. Elara's face flushed with anger. Random guy? Jace has been helping me through this whole nightmare. He's been more supportive in 2 days than you were in our entire marriage. 2 days? I looked between them, pieces clicking into place. You've known him for 2 days? We met at the gym, Jace said defensively. She was upset, needed someone to talk to. The gym you can't afford because you don't have a job? I asked Elara. Jace got me a guest pass, she said, lifting her chin defiantly. I studied Jace more carefully. He had the look of a personal trainer, overly muscled, overly tanned, and probably underly educated. The kind of guy who thought cardio was a type of car and believed that protein shakes could solve any problem. Let me guess, I said. Personal trainer? Fitness coach, he corrected, as if there was a meaningful difference. And you just happened to meet my wife, estranged wife, at the gym yesterday, and now you're here helping her move her things? That's right. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. Well, this is going to make great content for her TikTok. Moving out with my new boyfriend after 2 days. Her followers will love that. Elara's eyes widened. Don't you dare. Why not? You've been sharing our private business online for months. Turnabout is fair play. Jace stepped closer, trying to use his size to intimidate me. Put the phone away, man. Or what? Or I'll put it away for you. I looked up at him, noting that he had at least 4 inches and 50 pounds on me. In a straight fight, he'd probably win, but fights weren't always about size and strength. You know what, Jace? You're right. This doesn't need to be complicated. I lowered the phone and stepped back. Elara, make a list of what you think you left in the garage. Text it to me. I'll go through it, and if the items are actually yours, I'll leave them on the front porch tomorrow morning." "That's not good enough," she said. "I want to get them now." "Then call the police and request an escort, but you're not going into my garage and your new boyfriend isn't setting foot on my property again." Jace's face darkened. "Who are you calling boyfriend?" "If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck," I shrugged. "Look, I don't care what your relationship is, but this is my house, my property, and my garage. You have no legal right to be here, and neither does she." Elara pulled out her phone. Apparently, she'd already replaced the one she'd broken yesterday, and started recording. "This is exactly what I was talking about," she said to the camera. "Controlling, abusive behavior. He won't even let me get my own belongings." "Your belongings that you abandoned when you moved out yesterday?" I asked, making sure my voice carried to her phone's microphone. "The belongings you didn't think were important enough to take with you when you left?" She lowered the phone, realizing that this wasn't going the way she'd planned. "Make the list," I said again. "Text it to me. I'll check the garage tonight, and anything that's actually yours will be on the porch tomorrow morning. And if something's missing, then you can add it to your lawsuit. But right now, you need to leave." Jace looked like he wanted to argue, but Elara put a hand on his arm. "Come on," she said. "We'll handle this through lawyers." They got back in the car and drove away, but not before Elara rolled down her window and shouted, "This isn't over, Drake!" I watched them disappear down the street, then went inside to find Ben standing at the kitchen window with a huge grin on his face. "Dude," he said, "that was beautiful. You just alpha dogged a guy twice your size without raising your voice." "It's not about being alpha," I said, suddenly feeling exhausted. "It's about being smart." Same thing in this case. So who's the meathead? Jace Morrison, fitness coach, and Elara's new emotional support system. Already? It's been 1 day. 2 days, apparently. They met at the gym. Ben laughed. Of course they did. Let me guess. He's got more muscles than brain cells and thinks carbs are the enemy. Probably. But he's also potentially dangerous. Guys like that don't like being shown up, especially by someone smaller than them. You think he'll come back? I think Elara will make sure he comes back. This is all content to her. Drama equals views, views equal money. She's going to milk this divorce for everything it's worth. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "List of my belongings in your garage, ring light, white, phone stand, adjustable, backup camera, Canon, tripod, extension cord, and my grandmother's jewelry box that you hid from me." I showed the message to Ben, who read it and snorted. "Her grandmother's jewelry box? The one that's been sitting on her dresser in your bedroom for 3 years?" "The very same. She's already starting to lie about what's where." "So, what's the plan?" I looked around the kitchen, taking in the ring lights and phone stands she'd left behind, the expensive skincare products still lined up on the counter, the credit card bills stacked on the desk in the corner. "Document everything," I said. "Take photos, make lists, save receipts. If she wants to play games, we'll play games, but we're going to play by my rules." Ben grinned. "This is going to be fun." "No," I said, thinking about Jace's aggressive posture and Elara's calculating expression. "It's going to be war." The next morning, I woke up to find that Elara had escalated overnight. She'd posted a 3-part TikTok series titled "Signs You're in an Abusive Relationship," featuring herself as the victim and me as the villain. Each video had thousands of views and hundreds of comments ranging from supportive to skeptical. But it was the 4th video that really caught my attention. In it, she was sitting in what appeared to be Jace's apartment. All black leather furniture and motivational posters about grinding and crushing your goals. She was wearing one of his oversized gym shirts and looking vulnerable. "I want to be transparent with you all," she said, her voice soft and shaky. "I know some people are questioning my timeline, wondering how I could move on so quickly. The truth is, Jace and I have been friends for months. He's been helping me see that the way Drake treated me wasn't normal or healthy. Friends for months. That was interesting, considering she'd told me yesterday they'd just met. He's been encouraging me to stand up for myself, to demand the respect I deserve, and yesterday, when Drake refused to let me get my belongings, Jace was there to support me. The comments were eating it up. User after user posted heart emojis and messages of support. But buried in the flood of sympathy was a comment that made me sit up straighter. Girl, didn't you post about your amazing husband like 2 weeks ago? This timeline isn't adding up. I screenshotted that comment and several others like it. People were starting to notice the inconsistencies in her story. My phone rang. Serene's name appeared on the screen. Have you seen the latest episode of the Elara show? She asked. Just finished watching. She's claiming they've been friends for months now. Which contradicts what she told you yesterday about meeting him at the gym. She's changing her story, which means she's lying about something. The question is what? I might have an answer to that. I did some digging on your new friend Jace Morrison. He's got quite the social media presence. I opened Instagram and searched for his name. His profile popped up immediately. 47,000 followers, hundreds of shirtless photos, and a bio that read, fitness coach, lifestyle influencer, DM for coaching. Check out his posts from 3 months ago, Serene said. I scrolled back through his feed. 3 months ago, he'd posted a photo of himself at a local gym with the caption, New gym, new opportunities, ready to help Dallas get fit. The location tag showed it was the same upscale fitness center where Elara had been going. So they could have met 3 months ago, I said. Keep scrolling. I went back further, and there it was, a group photo from what appeared to be a fitness industry event. In the background, barely visible but unmistakably recognizable, was Elara. She was wearing the same dress she'd worn to what she'd told me was a content creator meetup 4 months ago. She's been lying about the timeline, I said. Gets better. Look at the tagged location. The photo was taken at the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas. I remembered that night clearly because Elara had come home late, claiming the meetup had run longer than expected. She'd been unusually secretive about who was there and what they'd discussed. She's been seeing him for months, I said, the pieces clicking into place. Looks that way. Which means her entire victim narrative is built on a lie. She didn't meet him after you separated. She was probably cheating on you before you separated. I felt a strange mix of anger and relief. Anger at the betrayal, relief that I hadn't been imagining the distance between us over the past few months. There's more, Serene continued. I looked into his background. Jace Morrison isn't exactly a successful fitness coach. He's been evicted twice in the past year, and there are several complaints against him on fitness industry forums. Apparently, he's got a pattern of targeting women with money, promising them personal training and lifestyle coaching, then bleeding them dry. So he's a con artist. A con artist with good abs and no moral compass. Elara thinks she's found her knight in shining armor, but she's actually found a parasite. I thanked Serene and hung up, my mind racing. Elara wasn't just lying about the timeline, she was being manipulated by a professional grifter, which meant this situation was about to get a lot more complicated. Ben wandered into the kitchen, already dressed for his job at a local tech startup. Morning, internet celebrity. What's the latest drama? I filled him in on Elara's new videos and my discovery about Jace. Ben listened with growing amusement. So she's been cheating on you for months with a con artist who specializes in ripping off women with money, he summarized. And now she's trying to paint you as the villain while he's probably already planning to drain whatever settlement she gets from the divorce. That's about the size of it. This is beautiful. She thinks she's playing chess, but she's actually playing checkers against a guy who's playing poker. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jace. We need to talk. Meet me at Fuel Coffee on Henderson at noon. Come alone. I showed the message to Ben, who read it and laughed. Oh, this is rich. The con artist wants to negotiate. Should I go? Absolutely, but not alone and definitely not unarmed. Unarmed? Metaphorically speaking. Bring your phone, record everything, and maybe give me a heads up when you get there so I can call the cops if things go sideways. At 11:45, I parked across the street from Fuel Coffee and surveyed the scene. It was a trendy place in the Bishop Arts District, the kind of spot where people went to be seen drinking expensive coffee while working on their laptops. Through the window, I could see Jace sitting at a corner table wearing a tight black t-shirt and looking like he was posing for a fitness magazine. I started a voice recording app on my phone, slipped it into my shirt pocket, and walked inside. Jace stood up when he saw me, extending that same crushing handshake. "Drake, thanks for coming. What did you want to talk about?" He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit down, man. Let's work this out like adults." I remained standing. "I'm good here. What do you want?" He sat back down, clearly annoyed that his attempt to control the situation had failed. "Look, I know this is awkward, but Elara and I care about each other. She's been through a lot, and she deserves better than what you put her through." What I put her through? The financial control, the emotional manipulation, the public humiliation. She told me everything. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. Want to see our account balance, or maybe the credit card statements? I can show you exactly who was doing the financial manipulation. He waved dismissively. That's not the point. The point is, she's moved on. She's with me now. And you need to accept that and make this divorce as easy as possible. Easy how? Give her what she's asking for. The spousal support, half the house, whatever. Just let her move on with her life. I stared at him for a moment, trying to process the sheer audacity of what he was saying. You want me to give my cheating wife half of a house she never paid for, plus ongoing financial support, so she can continue her relationship with the guy she was cheating with? When you put it like that, it sounds bad. It sounds bad because it is bad. Jace leaned forward, his friendly mask slipping. Look, man, I'm trying to be nice here, but Elara's got a lot of followers, a lot of influence. She could make your life very difficult if you don't play ball. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. You've seen what happened when she posted about your budget thing. Imagine if she really decided to come after you. I sat down across from him, leaning back in my chair. You know what, Jace? You're right. Elara does have a lot of followers, and they've been watching this whole drama unfold in real time. Exactly. Which means they saw her lie about when she met you. They saw her change her story about your relationship timeline. And they're starting to ask questions. His confident expression faltered slightly. See, the thing about social media is that everything is permanent, I continued. Screenshots, archived posts, cached pages, and people love a good detective story, especially when it involves a lying influencer and her new boyfriend. What are you getting at? I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot of his Instagram post from the fitness industry event. This photo was taken 4 months ago. Elara's in the background. Want to explain how you two just met at the gym 2 days ago? His face went pale. That doesn't prove anything. Maybe not by itself. But combined with the location data, the timeline of her content creator meetups, and the fact that she's been lying about when your relationship started, it paints a pretty clear picture. I stood up, looking down at him. Here's what's going to happen, Jace. You're going to stop threatening me, you're going to stop manipulating Elara, and you're going to disappear from my life permanently. And if I don't, then I post everything I've found about you online, your eviction records, the complaints against you, the pattern of targeting women with money. I let Elara's followers, and yours, decide what kind of person you really are. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You're making a mistake, man. The only mistake I made was not seeing through Elara's lies sooner, but that's been corrected. I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving him standing there with his mouth open. In my car, I stopped the recording and listened to it back. Every word was clear, including his threats and his admission that he and Elara had been planning to manipulate me into giving her more in the divorce. My phone rang as I was driving home. Elara's name appeared on the screen. "You had no right to meet with Jace behind my back," she said without preamble. "He asked to meet. I assumed you knew about it. He's furious. He said you threatened him. I gave him some friendly advice about staying out of my business." "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're trying to control my relationships, isolate me from people who care about me." I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine. "Elara, how long have you been seeing Jace?" There was a pause. "I told you. We met at the gym. 4 months ago at the Omni Hotel. There's photographic evidence." The silence stretched out for nearly 30 seconds. "It's not what you think," she finally said. "What I think is that you've been lying about everything. The timeline, the relationship, probably the reasons for our marriage falling apart. You don't understand. Jace helped me realize how unhappy I was. He showed me that I deserved better." "Better than what? A husband who worked 60-hour weeks to pay for your lifestyle? A husband who never complained when you spent money we didn't have? A husband who supported your dreams even when they were bankrupting us? You were controlling. I was trying to keep us from losing the house." I hung up and sat in my driveway for a moment, letting the anger wash over me and then subside. Getting emotional wouldn't help. This was a chess game now, and chess required clear thinking. Ben was waiting for me in the kitchen with a huge grin on his face. "How did it go with the meathead?" "He threatened me, I threatened him back, and now Elara's furious that I exposed their timeline. So, a productive meeting. Very, and I recorded the whole thing." Ben's grin widened. "You're getting good at this revenge thing." "It's not revenge, it's justice. Same thing, different marketing." That evening, I went through Elara's list of belongings in the garage. The ring light was there, along with the phone stand and tripod. The backup camera was actually mine. I'd bought it for a photography hobby I'd briefly pursued. The extension cord belonged to the garage, and her grandmother's jewelry box was exactly where it had always been, on the dresser in our bedroom. I took photos of everything, noting the actual ownership of each item. Then I packed up the things that were legitimately hers and left them on the front porch with a note. "Items as requested. Camera and extension cord remain as they belong to me. Jewelry box is on bedroom dresser where it's been for 3 years." The next morning, the items were gone, but I had a new problem. Someone had spray-painted "liar" across my garage door in bright red letters. I called the police and filed a vandalism report, providing them with the recording of Jace's threats and Elara's angry phone call. The officer who took the report was sympathetic but realistic about the chances of prosecution. "Unless you have video of them doing it, it's hard to prove," he said. "But we'll file the report, and if there are any more incidents, we'll have a pattern established." After he left, I stood in my driveway looking at the graffiti, feeling a cold anger settle in my chest. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they weren't going to like my version of the game. I spent the morning pressure washing the garage door and repainting it. While I worked, I thought about strategy. Jace and Elara had made this personal, which meant they'd made a tactical error. Personal meant emotional, and emotional meant mistakes. I was going to help them make a lot of mistakes. My phone buzzed with a notification. Elara had posted a new video, this one filmed in front of what appeared to be my house. She was standing on the sidewalk, pointing at my freshly painted garage door. "This is what gaslighting looks like," she said to the camera. "Drake painted over the evidence, but I got photos before he could cover it up. He spray-painted 'liar' on his own garage door and then called the police to blame it on me and Jace." She held up her phone, showing a photo of the graffiti. But in her rush to create content, she'd made a crucial error. The metadata was visible in the screenshot, showing that the photo had been taken at 3:47 a.m. I screenshotted her video and zoomed in on the timestamp. Then I opened my home security app and checked the footage from last night. Sure enough, at 3:52 a.m., a car matching the description of Jace's vehicle had driven slowly past my house. I had them. I called Seren and told her about the latest development. "They're getting sloppy," she said. "Desperation makes people stupid." "What's my next move?" "Document everything, but don't post it yet. Let them keep digging their own grave. The deeper they go, the harder it'll be for them to climb out. And then? Then you bury them." By the end of the week, Elara's social media campaign against me had reached fever pitch. She was posting multiple times a day, each video more dramatic than the last. She'd started a hashtag, Elar's journey, that was gaining traction among her followers and other influencers who saw an opportunity to jump on the drama. But her success was also her downfall. The more attention she attracted, the more people started digging into her story, and the more they dug, the more inconsistencies they found. It started with small things. Users pointing out that her timeline didn't add up. Screenshots of old posts that contradicted her current narrative. Questions about why someone who claimed to be financially abused was wearing designer clothes in every video. Then someone found Jace's eviction records. The post appeared on a drama forum dedicated to exposing influencer lies. It was a detailed breakdown of Jace's history, complete with court documents, apartment complex complaints, and testimonials from previous victims. The thread was titled, "Elara's new boyfriend is a professional con artist," and it went viral within hours. I was in my garage working on the Mustang when Seren called with the news. "Have you seen the drama forum post about Jace?" she asked. "No. What happened?" "Someone did a full background check and posted everything. Evictions, complaints, even testimony from women he's scammed. It's brutal." I wiped my hands and pulled out my phone, navigating to the forum. The post was comprehensive and damning. Not only did it expose Jace's pattern of targeting women with money, but it also included screenshots of his social media posts that showed him with different women over the past 2 years. Always the same story. They were friends who needed support during difficult times. "This is incredible," I said, scrolling through the evidence. "Someone really did their homework." Gets better. Check the comments. The comments section was a goldmine. Women who had encountered Jace were sharing their stories. A pattern emerged. He would meet them at gyms or through social media, present himself as a successful fitness coach, offer emotional support during vulnerable times, and then slowly drain their resources while promising a future together. "He's done this at least 6 times in the past 3 years, I said, reading through the testimonials. "And now Elara's the latest mark. The question is, does she know?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. "Drake?" The voice was female, nervous, and unfamiliar. "Yes?" This is going to sound weird, but I saw the forum post about Jace Morrison, and I think I need to talk to you. My name is Ashley Chen, and I was involved with him last year. I stepped outside the garage, away from the noise of my tools. "What can I do for you, Ashley?" "I saw your wife's videos, and I recognize the pattern. Jace is using her the same way he used me. The emotional support, the promises, the way he positions himself as the hero, rescuing her from a bad situation." "How did it end for you?" "Badly. He convinced me to leave my husband, promised me we'd start a fitness business together, got me to invest my entire divorce settlement in his coaching program. Then he disappeared with the money and moved on to the next woman." I felt a chill run down my spine. "How much money?" $43,000. My entire future, gone." "Did you report it to the police?" "I tried, but he's smart about it. Everything's technically legal. Bad investments, failed business ventures, relationship drama. Nothing you can prosecute." I thanked Ashley and promised to call her if I needed more information. After hanging up, I sat in my driveway for a long moment, processing what I'd learned. Jace wasn't just a con artist. He was a professional who had perfected his technique over years of practice, and Elara was walking straight into his trap. Part of me wanted to warn her. Despite everything she'd done, despite the lies and the manipulation and the public humiliation, she was still someone I'd once loved. The thought of her losing everything to a predator made my stomach turn. But another part of me, the part that remembered her mocking me on social media, her refusal to get a job, her complete disregard for our financial situation, felt like justice was finally being served. My phone rang. Ben's name appeared on the screen. "Dude, you need to get home right now," he said, his voice tense. "What's wrong?" "Elara and the meathead are here. They're in the backyard and they've got some kind of equipment with them." "Equipment?" "Looks like a camera setup. I think they're planning to film something." I was already getting in my truck. "Call the police. They're trespassing." "Already did. They're on their way. But Drake, you should know, they're live streaming this." I drove home faster than I should have, my mind racing through possibilities. What were they planning to film? Some kind of confrontation? A break-in? A staged incident they could use as evidence of my supposed abuse? I pulled into my driveway to find a police car already there, its lights flashing. Through my back gate, I could hear raised voices and what sounded like Elara crying. Officer Martinez, the same cop who had taken my vandalism report, met me at my front door. "Your wife and her friend were attempting to enter your backyard through the rear gate," he said. "They claim they were retrieving property that belongs to her." "What property?" "Garden tools, apparently, and some kind of outdoor furniture." I almost laughed. "Officer, I don't own any garden tools. I pay a landscaping service, and the only outdoor furniture I have is a grill and 2 lawn chairs, both of which I bought before I met her." That's what I figured. They also had professional camera equipment and were broadcasting live on social media when we arrived. Live streaming a break-in? Live streaming what they claimed was a property recovery, but since they didn't have your permission to be on the premises, and since the items they were claiming don't appear to exist, we're treating it as trespassing. Through the back gate, I could hear Jace's voice raised in argument with another officer. He was claiming that Elara had a legal right to retrieve her belongings, that I was preventing her from accessing her property, that this was all part of a pattern of abuse and control. "What happens now?" I asked. "We're issuing them both citations for trespassing. If they come back without your permission or a court order, they'll be arrested." Officer Martinez handed me a copy of the citation and left. I walked around to my backyard to survey any damage they might have done. The gate was intact, but there were footprints in the flower bed and what looked like tripod marks in the grass. My phone was buzzing constantly with notifications. Apparently, Elara's live-streamed property recovery had gone viral, but not in the way she'd intended. The comments were brutal, with viewers pointing out that she was clearly trespassing and that her claims about garden tools and furniture made no sense. Someone had screen-recorded the entire incident, including the moment when the police arrived, and Elara's story fell apart in real time. The video was already being shared across multiple platforms, with titles like "Influencer Caught Lying About Ex-Husband" and "TikTok Star Tries to Stage Break-In for Content." I called Seren to fill her in on the latest development. "They're getting desperate," she said. "This was a Hail Mary play that backfired spectacularly." "What's their next move?" "Probably to claim that you called the police on them maliciously, that you're using law enforcement to harass them. But at this point, they've lost all credibility. Even her supporters are starting to turn on her." She was right. I spent the evening monitoring Elara's social media accounts and watching the narrative shift in real time. The forum post about Jace had been shared thousands of times, and people were connecting the dots between his history and Elara's current situation. Comments that had been supportive just days earlier were now skeptical or outright hostile. Users were posting screenshots of Elara's old content, highlighting the contradictions in her story. Someone had created a timeline showing all the inconsistencies in her narrative, complete with receipts and documentation. The hashtag Elar's journey was still trending, but now it was being used to mock her rather than support her. Around 10 o'clock, my phone rang. Elara's name appeared on the screen. "Drake, we need to talk," she said, her voice smaller than I'd heard it in months. "About what?" "About ending this. About making it stop." "Making what stop?" "The harassment, the trolling, the people digging into my personal life. Can't you call them off?" I almost laughed. "Elara, I didn't start this. You did. You made our private business public. You lied about our relationship. You tried to destroy my reputation for content. This is just the internet doing what the internet does." "But they're attacking Jace too. They're posting personal information, contacting his clients, ruining his business." "Maybe he should have thought about that before he decided to help you harass me." "Please," she said, and for the first time in months, she sounded genuine. "I know I made mistakes, but this has gone too far. People are calling my family, my friends, my former employers. They're trying to destroy my life. Like you tried to destroy mine?" There was a long silence. "I never meant for it to go this far," she finally said. "Yes, you did. You wanted drama because drama gets views. You wanted conflict because conflict gets engagement. You turned our marriage into content and our divorce into entertainment. This is exactly what you wanted. It just backfired. So you won't help me?" I thought about Ashley Chen and the $43,000 she'd lost. I thought about the other women Jace had scammed, the pattern of manipulation and exploitation that Elara was helping him continue. "I'll make you a deal," I said. "Post a video telling the truth. Admit that you've been seeing Jace for months, that you lied about the timeline, that you were cheating on me before we separated. Admit that the financial problems were caused by your spending, not my control. Tell your followers the real story." "I can't do that. It would destroy my credibility." "Your credibility is already destroyed. The question is whether you want to salvage what's left of your dignity." She hung up without answering. The next morning, I woke up to find that the story had been picked up by several major drama channels on YouTube. Videos with titles like "TikTok Stars Lies Exposed" and "The Rise and Fall of an Influencer" were racking up hundreds of thousands of views. But the most damaging coverage came from an unexpected source. A local news station had picked up the story and was running it as a segment about social media manipulation and online harassment. The reporter had done her homework, interviewing several of Jace's previous victims and presenting a clear timeline of his predatory behavior. Elara's face was shown alongside those of his other victims, but she wasn't presented as a victim. She was presented as his accomplice, someone who had helped him target and manipulate her own husband. The segment ended with a warning to viewers about the dangers of social media manipulation and the importance of verifying information before believing influencer narratives. My phone rang. It was Ashley Chen again. "I saw the news segment," she said. "Thank you." "For what?" "For stopping him. For exposing the pattern. I know it probably wasn't easy to watch your wife get dragged through all this, but you probably saved the next woman he would have targeted." After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking about justice. It wasn't the clean, satisfying kind you see in movies. It was messy and complicated and left everyone damaged in some way. But it was still justice. My phone buzzed with a notification. Elara had posted a new video, but this one was different. She was sitting in what appeared to be a hotel room, her makeup smudged and her hair unkempt. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. "I need to tell you all the truth," she began, her voice shaking. "I've made some terrible mistakes, and I've hurt people I care about. The story I've been telling isn't the whole truth, and I owe it to everyone to be honest." She went on to admit most of what I'd asked her to admit. The timeline with Jace, the financial problems, the lies she'd told about our relationship. She stopped short of calling it cheating, framing it instead as emotional support that crossed boundaries. but it was close enough to the truth to matter. I'm taking a break from social media to work on myself and figure out what I really want from life, she concluded. I'm sorry to everyone I've hurt, especially Drake. He deserved better than what I put him through. The video had been up for less than an hour and already had thousands of comments. Most were supportive, with people praising her for finally telling the truth. But there were also plenty of users who pointed out that this confession only came after she'd been thoroughly exposed. I watched the video twice, looking for any sign that she was being coerced or manipulated into making it. But she seemed genuine, broken but honest in a way she hadn't been in months. My phone rang. Ben's name appeared on the screen. "Did you see it?" he asked. "Yeah. How do you feel?" I thought about that for a moment. How did I feel? Vindicated? Satisfied? Sad? Tired, I said finally. Just really, really tired. It's over, though. She admitted the truth. She's taking a break from social media, and that con artist boyfriend of hers is probably already looking for his next target. Yeah, it's over. But even as I said it, I had a feeling that Elara's confession was just the beginning of the end. Not the end itself. People like Jace didn't give up easily, and people like Elara didn't change overnight. I was right to be skeptical. The real confrontation was still coming. 3 days after Elara's confession video, I thought the worst was behind us. Her follower count had dropped by 60%. The drama channels had moved on to fresher scandals, and the constant buzz of notifications on my phone had finally died down to a manageable level. I should have known better. I was in my garage Saturday morning, putting the finishing touches on Mrs. Henderson's Mustang, when Ben burst through the door with his laptop in hand. "You need to see this," he said, setting the computer on my workbench. "Elara just went live, and she's not alone." On the screen, I could see Elara sitting in what appeared to be a lawyer's office, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. She looked different, more polished than she had in her confession video, like she'd had time to regroup and plan her next move. "I want to address some rumors that have been circulating," she was saying to the camera. "First, I want to be clear that my previous video was made under extreme duress. I was being harassed and threatened, and I said things that weren't entirely accurate in order to make it stop." My stomach dropped. The truth is that my husband, Drake Torrin, has been conducting a systematic campaign of harassment against me and my friend Jace Morrison. He's used social media manipulation, false police reports, and intimidation tactics to try to destroy our reputations and force me into an unfavorable divorce settlement. One of the lawyers leaned into frame. "We've documented over 40 instances of harassment, defamation, and what appears to be organized cyberbullying. We'll be filing both civil and criminal complaints." The comment section was exploding. Users were confused, angry, and demanding explanations. Some were buying into the new narrative, while others were calling it out as another lie. "She's claiming you orchestrated the entire internet backlash," Ben said, his voice incredulous. "Like you personally convinced thousands of people to investigate her boyfriend and expose her lies." I watched in fascination as Elara spun an elaborate conspiracy theory in which I was some kind of social media mastermind who had manipulated public opinion against her. According to her new story, I had planted the forum posts about Jace, coordinated the harassment campaigns, and even staged the trespassing incident to make them look bad. "It's actually impressive," I said. "She's taking every consequence of her own actions and reframing them as part of my master plan." "Are you worried?" I thought about that for a moment. No. She's overplaying her hand. How so? Look at what she's claiming. That I somehow convinced dozens of strangers to spend hours researching her boyfriend's background and posting detailed exposés. That I manipulated multiple women into coming forward with stories about being scammed. That I have some kind of influence network capable of coordinating harassment campaigns across multiple platforms. Ben nodded slowly. She's giving you way too much credit. Exactly. And she's doing it on a live stream that's being recorded by hundreds of people. Every claim she makes can be fact-checked and debunked. As if to prove my point, the comments section was already filling up with users posting screenshots and receipts that contradicted her story. Someone had pulled up the original forum post about Jace and showed that it was made by an account that had been active for years and had no connection to me. Another user posted a timeline showing that the harassment had started organically after her own inconsistencies were noticed by her followers. She's also making a tactical error, I continued. By claiming this is all a coordinated attack, she's essentially admitting that everything people found out about Jace is true. She's not denying his history or the testimonials from his victims. She's just claiming that I somehow orchestrated their exposure. The live stream continued for another 20 minutes, with Elara and her lawyers making increasingly wild claims about my supposed social media manipulation abilities. They promised to release evidence of my harassment campaign within 24 hours and threatened both civil and criminal prosecution. When it ended, I called Seren to get her take on the situation. She's desperate, Seren said after I filled her in. This is what people do when they're backed into a corner and don't have any good options left. Should I be worried about the legal threats? Not really. Everything they're claiming is either demonstrably false or protected speech. You didn't organize any harassment campaigns, you didn't defame anyone, and you certainly didn't make Jace's victims come forward. They're throwing around legal terms, hoping to scare you into settling. What's my next move? Document everything, just like you've been doing. Let them make their claims, then systematically debunk each one. The beauty of live streaming their accusations is that they've created a permanent record of their lies. That evening, I sat down and created a comprehensive timeline of everything that had happened, complete with screenshots, timestamps, and documentation. It was a meticulous record that showed exactly how events had unfolded, who had said what and when, and how the public backlash had developed organically, rather than through any coordination on my part. I didn't post it immediately. Instead, I waited to see what evidence Elara's lawyers would produce. I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, they released a document package that was supposed to prove their harassment claims. It was a masterclass in selective editing and misleading presentation. They had screenshots of social media posts critical of Elara and Jace, but they presented them as if they were all connected rather than independent reactions from different users. They had copies of the forum posts exposing Jace's history, but they claimed without evidence that these were planted by me or my associates. They even included screenshots of news articles about the situation, as if media coverage of a public story was somehow evidence of harassment. Most damaging to their case, they included several posts that were clearly satirical or mimetic in nature, presenting them as serious harassment. One screenshot showed a meme someone had made using a photo of Jace with the caption, "When you're a professional con artist but your mark exposes herself before you can finish the scam." They presented this as evidence of a coordinated attack rather than what it obviously was, internet humor. The response was swift and brutal. Legal experts on social media pointed out the flaws in their case. Drama channels made videos dissecting the evidence package and showing how it actually undermined their claims. Even some of Elara's former supporters began questioning whether she was being honest about this latest accusation. But the most devastating response came from an unexpected source. Ashley Chen, the woman who had been scammed by Jace the previous year. She posted a detailed video response on her own social media accounts, explaining exactly how Jace's scam had worked and providing documentation of her own experience. She addressed Elara directly, explaining that she wasn't part of any harassment campaign. She was a victim trying to prevent other women from suffering the same fate. "I came forward because I recognized the pattern," Ashley said in her video. "I saw the same manipulation tactics, the same promises, the same positioning of himself as a rescuer. I didn't want another woman to lose everything like I did." Her video was shared thousands of times and sparked a wave of support from other victims of similar scams. Within hours, Our Survivors Speak Out was trending, with women sharing their own stories of financial and emotional manipulation by predatory men. Elara's narrative was falling apart in real time. That's when things got dangerous. I was working late in my garage Tuesday evening when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the window, I could see a vehicle I didn't recognize, a black pickup truck with tinted windows. The engine stayed running, and nobody got out. I grabbed my phone and called Ben, who was inside the house. "There's someone in my driveway," I said quietly. "Black pickup, engine running. Can you see anything from the house?" "Looking now," he said. I heard him moving through the house. "Yeah, I see it. 2 people inside, looks like they're just sitting there. Call the police." "Already dialing." I stayed in the garage, keeping the lights off and watching through the window. After about 10 minutes, the truck's doors opened and 2 figures got out. In the dim light from the street lamps, I could make out Jace's distinctive silhouette. The other person was smaller, probably Elara. They walked up to my front door and knocked loudly. When no one answered, Jace started pounding on the door with his fist. "Drake!" he shouted. "We know you're in there! Come out and face us like a man!" I could hear sirens in the distance. Ben had gotten through to the police. "We're not leaving until you talk to us." Elara's voice joined Jace's. "You've destroyed my life, and you're going to fix it." The pounding continued, getting more aggressive. I heard what sounded like Jace kicking the door. "This is harassment," he yelled. "You want to play games? We can play games." The sirens were getting closer. Through the window, I could see the flashing lights approaching. Jace and Elara must have seen them too, because they suddenly stopped pounding and ran back to their truck. But they were too late. The police car pulled into my driveway, blocking their exit. What happened next was captured on my security cameras and would later become crucial evidence in the restraining order proceedings. Jace got out of the truck and approached the police officers with his hands raised, but his posture aggressive. "Officers, we're just trying to talk to this guy about the harassment campaign he's been running against us." Officer Martinez, who was becoming a regular presence in my life, stepped out of the patrol car. "Sir, you're on private property without permission, and we have reports of you threatening the homeowner." "I wasn't threatening anyone. I was just trying to get him to come outside and have a conversation." "By pounding on his door and shouting threats?" Elara got out of the truck, her phone already recording. "We have a right to defend ourselves against his attacks. He's been systematically destroying our reputations online." "Ma'am, you were issued a trespassing citation just last week for being on this property without permission. You're in violation of that citation right now." I came out of the garage, keeping my distance but making sure I was visible to both the officers and Elara's camera. "Officers," I said calmly, "I have security footage of the entire incident if you need it." Jace's head snapped toward me, his face flushed with anger. "You coward! Hiding in your garage while you destroy people's lives online." "Sir, calm down," Officer Martinez warned. "I'm not calming down. This guy has been ruining my business, harassing my clients, spreading lies about me across the internet." "What lies?" I asked, genuinely curious. "You know what lies? The forum posts, the background checks, the harassment campaigns." "You mean the public records? The court documents? The testimonials from women you've scammed?" He took a step toward me, but Officer Martinez moved between us. "That's enough," the officer said firmly. "You're both under arrest for trespassing and harassment." As they were being handcuffed, Elara continued recording with her phone, narrating the arrest as if she were the victim of police brutality rather than someone being arrested for trespassing. "This is what happens when you try to defend yourself against a harassment campaign," she said to her camera. "The system protects the abuser and punishes the victims." Even in handcuffs, she was creating content. After they were taken away, I gave my statement to the police and provided them with copies of my security footage. The video clearly showed Jace and Elara approaching my property uninvited, pounding on my door, shouting threats, and refusing to leave when asked. This should be enough for a restraining order, Officer Martinez told me. Combined with the previous trespassing incidents and the documented threats, you've got a strong case. The next morning, I filed for a protective order against both Jace and Elara. The hearing was scheduled for the following week, but before the hearing could take place, the story took another unexpected turn. Ashley Chen called me Wednesday afternoon with news that changed everything. "I thought you should know," she said. "Jace contacted me yesterday. He wanted to meet to discuss our mutual situation." "Did you meet with him?" "I did, but not alone. I brought a friend and recorded the conversation. Drake, he offered to pay me to recant my story about him. He said if I posted a video saying I made everything up, he'd give me $10,000. He's trying to buy off his victims. It gets worse. He also said that if I didn't cooperate, he'd make sure I regretted it. He knows where I work, where I live, where my kids go to school." "Did you report this to the police?" "I'm filing a report this afternoon. But I wanted you to hear it first, because he mentioned you specifically. He said that after he clears his name, he's going to come after you for defamation." After Ashley hung up, I sat in my kitchen processing this new information. Jace wasn't just a con artist. He was escalating to direct intimidation and threats. And if he was willing to threaten Ashley, he was probably planning something similar for me. I called my lawyer and filled him in on the latest developments. He advised me to document everything and suggested that we might want to consider filing criminal charges rather than just seeking a restraining order. "This guy is dangerous," he said. "He's not just scamming women anymore. He's threatening witnesses and trying to obstruct justice. That's a whole different level of criminal behavior." That evening, I was reviewing my security footage and preparing my evidence for the restraining order hearing when I noticed something odd. In the video from Tuesday night's incident, there was a moment when Jace was walking back to his truck where he appeared to drop something near my mailbox. I went outside with a flashlight and searched the area. Hidden in the bushes next to my mailbox, I found a small GPS tracking device. They had been tracking my movements. I called the police immediately and reported the device. Officer Martinez came out to collect it as evidence, and we reviewed my security footage together to confirm when and how it had been placed. "This is stalking," he said grimly. "Combined with the trespassing, the threats, and the attempted witness intimidation, this guy is looking at serious felony charges." The next morning, warrants were issued for Jace's arrest on charges of stalking, harassment, and witness intimidation. Elara was charged with accessory to stalking and violation of her trespassing citation, but they were nowhere to be found. According to Bree, Elara's friend, they had checked out of their hotel Wednesday night and hadn't been seen since. Their social media accounts had gone dark, and Jace's gym had posted a notice that he was temporarily unavailable for training sessions. They had run. The story of their flight was picked up by local news and drama channels, painting them as fugitives from justice rather than victims of harassment. The narrative had completely flipped. Elara went from sympathetic victim to accomplice in a stalking case, while Jace went from supportive boyfriend to dangerous predator. Ashley Chen gave an interview to a local news station, showing the recorded conversation where Jace had tried to bribe her and made threats against her family. Other women came forward with similar stories of intimidation and attempted bribery. The Survivors Speak Out hashtag evolved into a broader conversation about predatory behavior and the importance of believing victims when they come forward with their stories. As for me, I found myself in the strange position of being vindicated by events I had never wanted to happen. I had wanted Elara to face consequences for her lies and manipulation, but I had never wanted her to become involved with someone truly dangerous. A week later, they were arrested in Arizona while trying to cross into Mexico. Jace was extradited back to Texas to face the stalking and intimidation charges, while Elara was released on bail pending her own hearing. She never contacted me again. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Elara didn't contest it, didn't ask for spousal support, and didn't try to claim any of my assets. Her lawyer advised her to accept whatever I offered and disappear quietly. I gave her $5,000 and wished her luck. 6 months after Elara and Jace were arrested in Arizona, I thought the entire nightmare was finally behind me. Jace was serving 18 months for stalking and witness intimidation. Elara had moved back to her hometown in Ohio, and my life had settled into something resembling normalcy. I was wrong. It was a Thursday evening in late October when everything came crashing back. I was in my garage putting the final touches on a 1968 Camaro restoration when Ben burst through the door, his face pale and his hands shaking. "Drake, we have a problem," he said, holding up his phone. "A big one." On his screen was a live stream that had been running for 27 minutes. The title read, "The Real Truth About Drake Torrin, Exposed." And it had over 3,000 viewers. The person hosting the stream wasn't Elara or Jace. It was Bree Corlin, Elara's former best friend, sitting in what appeared to be a professional studio setup with ring lights and multiple camera angles. "I've been silent for too long," Bree was saying to her audience. "I've watched an innocent woman get destroyed by a manipulative, abusive man, and I can't stay quiet anymore." My stomach dropped as I realized what was happening. Bree was attempting to rehabilitate Elara's reputation by painting me as the villain in an elaborate revenge narrative. "What you don't know about Drake Torrin," she continued, "is that he's a master manipulator who spent months planning Elara's destruction. He orchestrated everything, the social media backlash, the harassment campaigns, even Jace's arrest." Ben and I watched in horrified fascination as Bree spun an elaborate conspiracy theory. According to her version of events, I had been planning to divorce Elara for months and had systematically set up situations to make her look bad. She claimed I had hired people to investigate Jace's background, paid influencers to turn against Elara, and even staged the trespassing incidents to frame them. "He's a sociopath," Bree declared dramatically. "He destroyed a woman's entire life for content and revenge, then played the victim when she tried to defend herself." The comments section was a mix of shock, skepticism, and support. Some viewers were buying into Bree's narrative, while others were pointing out the obvious flaws in her story. "This is insane," Ben said. "She's basically claiming you're some kind of evil genius who can manipulate thousands of strangers into doing your bidding." "It's also defamation," I said, pulling out my own phone. "She's making specific false claims about my character and actions to a large audience." I started recording Bree's stream while simultaneously researching her background. What I found was interesting. Bree had recently started her own lifestyle brand and was struggling to gain followers. Her engagement rates were abysmal, and her content was getting minimal attention. This stream, however, was different. The viewer count was climbing rapidly, and the comments were pouring in. Drama was good for business, and Bree had found a way to insert herself into a story that had already proven to generate massive engagement. "She's using this for clout," I told Ben. "Look at her viewer count. This is probably the most attention she's ever gotten online." As if to prove my point, Bree started promoting her own social media accounts and lifestyle brand during the stream. "If you want to support creators who tell the truth," she said, "make sure to follow me on all platforms. Links are in the description." "I have proof of everything I'm telling you," Bree announced. "Screenshots, recordings, documented evidence of Drake's harassment campaign, and I'm going to release all of it tonight." "What proof could she possibly have?" Ben asked. "Nothing real," I said. "But that doesn't mean she won't try to fabricate something." I was right to be concerned. Over the next hour, Bree released a series of screenshots and documents that were clearly manipulated or taken out of context. She had screenshots of forum posts about Jace, but she claimed they were made by accounts I controlled. She had copies of news articles about the situation, which she presented as evidence that I had somehow influenced media coverage. Most damaging, she had what appeared to be text message conversations between me and unknown parties discussing taking down Elara and Jace. The messages looked authentic at first glance, but a closer examination revealed obvious signs of manipulation, inconsistent formatting, suspicious timestamps, and language that didn't match my writing style. "She's created fake text messages," I said, screenshotting everything as evidence. "This is getting into criminal territory." The stream was gaining momentum, with viewers sharing it across other platforms and drama channels beginning to cover the story. Within 2 hours, Dr. Drake Exposed was trending, and my phone was buzzing constantly with notifications. But then something unexpected happened. The internet's collective detective skills, which had previously been turned against Elara and Jace, were now focused on Bree's claims. Users began dissecting her evidence in real time, pointing out inconsistencies and obvious manipulations. Tech-savvy viewers analyzed the metadata on her screenshots and found evidence of digital manipulation. Others cross-referenced her timeline with public records and found multiple contradictions. Most damaging to Bree's credibility, someone found her old social media posts where she had criticized Elara's behavior and expressed support for me during the original drama. Screenshots of these posts began circulating, showing that Bree had previously called Elara toxic and delusional. "She's getting destroyed in her own comments section," Ben observed, watching the stream. "People are posting receipts faster than she can delete them." But Bree doubled down, claiming that her old posts had been taken out of context and that she had been afraid to speak the truth earlier due to my supposed influence and intimidation. "Drake Torrin has connections throughout the social media industry," she claimed without evidence. "He's been threatening anyone who tries to support Elara or expose his lies." That's when I decided to end this once and for all. I called Seren and asked her to come over immediately. Then I set up my own live stream equipment, ironically using some of the gear Elara had left behind, and prepared to respond to Bree's accusations in real time. "You're going live?" Ben asked. "I'm going to systematically debunk every claim she's made, show the evidence of her manipulations, and put an end to this nonsense before it gets any worse." Seren arrived 30 minutes later, just as Bree was wrapping up her stream with promises to release even more evidence in the coming days. "I saw the drama," Seren said. "This woman is either delusional or deliberately malicious. Probably both. Help me set up the response stream." We spent 20 minutes preparing a comprehensive presentation that included the original timeline of events, documentation of Bree's contradictory statements, analysis of her manipulated evidence, and proof of her own previous criticisms of Elara. When I went live at 11 p.m., I had over 500 viewers within the first minute. Word had spread quickly that I was responding to Bree's accusations. "Good evening," I said calmly to the camera. "I'm here to address the false accusations made against me tonight by Bree Corlin. I'm going to go through her claims one by one and show you exactly why they're not credible." For the next 90 minutes, I methodically dismantled Bree's narrative. I showed the evidence of her manipulated screenshots, highlighted the contradictions in her timeline, and displayed her own old posts criticizing Elara's behavior. Most importantly, I explained the actual sequence of events that had led to Elara and Jace's downfall, showing how it had developed organically rather than through any coordination on my part. "The truth is simple," I concluded. "Elara made poor choices, lied to her audience, and got involved with a predator. When the consequences of those choices caught up with her, she tried to blame me rather than take responsibility. Now her friend is trying to rewrite history for personal gain." The response was immediate and overwhelming. My viewer count peaked at over 8,000, and the comments were almost universally supportive. Users were sharing clips from my stream across other platforms, and "The Truth About Drake" began trending alongside Drake Exposed. But the real vindication came from an unexpected source. Ashley Chen, Jace's former victim, went live on her own social media accounts to refute Bree's claims. "I've been watching this drama unfold tonight," Ashley said, "and I need to set the record straight. Drake Torrin did not orchestrate any harassment campaign against Jace Morrison or Elara. I came forward with my story because I recognized the pattern of manipulation and wanted to protect other women." She went on to detail her interactions with me, explaining that I had never asked her to come forward, never coordinated any attacks against Jace, and had actually been respectful and supportive when she reached out to share her story. The idea that Drake somehow manipulated dozens of women into fabricating stories about Jace is insulting and ridiculous, Ashley concluded. "We came forward because we're survivors, not because we're part of some conspiracy." Her stream was shared thousands of times and effectively ended any remaining credibility Bree might have had. By morning, the narrative had completely shifted. Bree's accusations were widely recognized as false and manipulative. Drama channels that had initially covered her claims were now making correction videos. Her own follower count was dropping rapidly as people realized she had fabricated evidence for attention. Most satisfying, several of Bree's own friends and family members posted on social media expressing their disappointment in her behavior and distancing themselves from her claims. The legal consequences came quickly. My lawyer sent Bree a cease and desist letter demanding she retract her false statements and remove all manipulated evidence from her social media accounts. When she refused, we filed a defamation lawsuit with clear documentation of her lies and fabrications. But the real end came when someone discovered that Bree had been in contact with Jace while he was in prison. Phone records obtained through legal discovery showed that they had been coordinating this revenge campaign for weeks, with Jace providing talking points and Bree agreeing to execute the plan in exchange for money he promised to pay her when he was released. The revelation that Bree was working with a convicted stalker to spread false accusations destroyed any remaining support she might have had. Her social media accounts were suspended for violating terms of service regarding harassment and misinformation. Her attempted lifestyle brand collapsed before it could really begin. As for Elara, she finally broke her silence with a simple statement posted to her remaining social media accounts. "I was not involved in or aware of Bree's recent actions. I do not support the spreading of false information about anyone. I am focused on moving forward with my life and wish everyone involved peace and healing." It wasn't an apology, but it was an acknowledgement that the latest accusations were false. The defamation case against Bree was settled out of court 6 months later. She agreed to pay damages, issue a public retraction, and stay off social media for 2 years. The settlement amount was enough to cover my legal fees and provide a nice down payment on a new house. As I write this, it's been over a year since Bree's failed revenge campaign. Jace completed his sentence and moved to another state, where he's apparently trying to start over under a different name. Elara is working as a dental hygienist again, and has largely stayed off social media. Bree has honored her settlement agreement and remained silent. Ben moved out of my guest room and into his own apartment, though he still comes by regularly to help with restoration projects and provide commentary on whatever drama is trending online. Saran and I have become closer friends, bonded by shared experience of watching people's lives implode in real time on the internet. And me? I'm still restoring classic cars, still living in the same house, still dealing with the occasional person who recognizes me as that guy from the budget drama. Most people have moved on to newer scandals and fresher outrage, which is exactly how I prefer it. The garage door that was once spray-painted with "Liar" now bears a small plaque that reads, "Henderson's Automotive Restoration, quality work, honest prices." Mrs. Henderson's Mustang won first place at the Memorial Car Show, and word-of-mouth referrals have kept me busier than ever. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how everything played out, if I wish I had handled things differently. The truth is, I don't know what I could have done differently. When someone makes your private life public, when they lie about you for content and attention, When they try to destroy your reputation for views and engagement, your options are limited. You can stay silent and let the lies stand, or you can fight back with the truth. I chose to fight back, and the truth won. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, and it left everyone involved damaged in some way. But it was justice, messy and complicated and real. The ledger of wrongs has been balanced. The accounts are settled. And for the first time in years, I can work on my cars in peace, without worrying about someone turning my life into content for their next viral video. That's worth more than any settlement money or social media vindication. That's worth everything.